now we're just moving on to the last part. So hopefully that will change soon too. So I'm going to see what else we have to talk about here. Oh, there was a gay guy here in Texas who hooked up on a site called Meet Me. And this is a site, where people can go and meet other people. And I guess you kind of hook up. It's like a social networking app, but people meet there to hook up or whatever too. And he was meeting this gay guy or bisexual guy on the phone or on this app, and he went to meet the guy, and the guy ended up beating him up so bad that he was so swollen. His face was so swollen. And I mean, he literally went in, walked in, and the guy jumped him with some other people, and they beat him up like with all this pipes and shit like that. And so he's literally unrecognizable right now because of all the swelling, and his face is broken and everything else. It's really, really sad. So you got to be careful for those of you who are still single, who are going out there and hooking up with strangers, who are actually going out and actually meeting people on Grindr or Meet Me or whatever other apps there are out there to meet guys anymore these days. You have to really be careful because you honestly don't know who is on the other side of the computer or the other side of the phone before you go to meet them. You can really only go by what they tell you. That's really all you can go by. And people lie all the time. People really go by, depend on, trust people too much, I think. And I think people should really, really, really try harder. Another thing up is about AIDS. The AIDS epidemic, they say, should be over in less than 20 years. The UN says this, and it says by 2030 that the AIDS epidemic is probably going to be over. And the quote says, "I think that 2030 is a viable target to say that we have reached the end of the epidemic," said Luis Luris, a deputy executive director of UN AIDS and the UN agency leading the fight against HIV/AIDS. HIV will continue existing as a case here or there, but not at the epidemic level we have today. He says that 2 decades ago, the average annual cost of treatment per person for HIV was $19,000, while today it's $150, thanks to generic drugs. Moreover, people with HIV are getting treatment earlier, which retards the disease's development. According to UNAIDS, the annual incidence of new infections has fallen 20% over the past decade, and in 25 countries, including 13 in sub-Saharan Africa, it has fallen by 50%. Over the past 2 years, the number of people who have obtained treatment for HIV has increased by 60%. So it's great that things are wrapping up. And also, they just had some kind of breakthrough with HIV that some foot cream that's used to treat like athlete's foot or whatever literally kills HIV on contact, and it can't come back or something. So it's great that it's they're making breakthroughs now or whatever, and hope for people who do have HIV or AIDS that they survive long enough to take advantage of this, because it's a horrible thing. I remember when I was in the 90s, when I was growing up, AIDS was huge, of course, And I remember the first time I ever heard about HIV or AIDS, it was when I was a little kid. I was probably about 6 years old, I guess, about 1981. And I was sitting on the floor of our house or whatever, our apartment, whatever we lived in then. And I remember looking at the TV, and I saw Troy Duncan, who was one of our, not Troy Duncan, I can't remember his name, but anyway, one of our local anchors here in Dallas, talking about HIV or AIDS. And I remember asking my mother, I go, what's HIV or whatever like that? She says, my mom goes, it's a disease. And she says, you can only get it from sex. And she said, if any man or any boy asks to suck your pee-pee, you say no. And I remember the first image that came in my head. I remember what I was thinking when she said this. I remember the first image that came in my head was someone sucking on my pee-pee and urine coming out of it, is what I was thinking at 6 years old. I'm thinking, why would anybody ever want to do that? Is what I was thinking in my mind, because of course I wasn't, sexual at all at 6 years old. So it was really bizarre, but she was, scared just like everybody else was about it. And then in the 90s, as I came out and everything else, I knew it was a very big scare for people, especially gay guys, to have to deal with protecting ourselves from HIV. And fortunately, I was educated about it because I had educated myself about it. And also, when I was at SMU, I worked as a volunteer coordinator for the AIDS Resource Center here in Dallas. And as such, I learned a lot about protecting myself. So fortunately, I never got it and never encountered it. Well, it's not that I never encountered it. I actually had a boyfriend who had HIV for 6 months when I was 23 or 24. So, but I never got it. And so fortunately, I was fortunate not to get it. But the good thing is a lot of people are more educated about it today. And they think that HIV or AIDS is a gay disease still. People who are ignorant still think that, when in reality it's highest group of rate of infection is in women, because in older women mostly, because they don't usually use protection and whatever. So it's really sad that people think that. And so hopefully that will be a story of the past someday, and people who have that will be able to get better and actually, enjoy themselves and have a life lived long instead of having to worry about that. And really these days it's really more like a chronic disease like diabetes or something would be possibly. Both can kill you if you don't maintain and monitor yourself accordingly. So I think it's more like that today, which is good, but people think it's gone, it's been eradicated, or they think it's no longer a threat to them. And that's not true. And a lot of people, especially in the gay community, like the young twinks or whatever, they think that if you get HIV, no big deal. They bareback or whatever all the time. And barebacking is a whole other topic, and they do that with complete strangers and think that they won't get AIDS. And if they do, no big deal, because they'll just take a pill and they'll be fine. When in reality, you take a pill, but apparently it has really bad side effects and gives people diarrhea and like horrible, horrible side effects. So it's not exactly a picnic. Plus they feel bad, I would assume too. So it's not something that you want to get. So you want to protect yourself, whether you're male, female, gay, straight, bisexual, whatever. I don't care who you're having sex with, protect yourself. And a lot of women make the mistake to just have unprotected sex because they think the guy they're having sex with is straight, and sometimes it's not the case. And whether he is straight or not doesn't mean he can't have AIDS or HIV or hepatitis or herpes or syphilis or a million other horrible diseases you can get from not using protection. So whether you're trying to protect yourself from HIV or another STD, do it anyway, regardless of who you think you're with, until you're in a committed long-term relationship with them and you can trust them. You've both been tested. I know when my husband and I have been together 6 months, we got tested, both of us, for HIV, and both tested negative, and we're still negative today, and because we're monogamous. And we after that we no longer practiced use condoms or whatever, because we were in a committed relationship. So I personally think it's fine in that case, but I think if you're single and you are having unprotected sex, whether you're gay or straight or whatever, I think it's a really bad idea, because these days it's just really taking a chance, like the Russian roulette with your life. You never know who you're having sex with, and people lie. By the way, people lie about their status. Gay men or straight women will say they're not HIV positive, or say they've been tested and they tested negative or whatever. And when in reality, they know that they're actually positive, because either A, they don't want to be rejected, or B, because they're in denial themselves, or C, they don't care about you at all. And so you really have to watch that. So don't ever take a stranger's word when it comes to your life. Don't ever do that, because it's really an ignorant move to make. I would, I've always said it this way: if you would trust the person that you're having sex with your life, and to put their life ahead of your own, possibly even, then yeah, have unsafe sex with them. But if you can't say that about the person, then it's probably not a good idea, So, and there've been a lot of people who've tested positive in the porn industry lately because of HIV. And my friend David had mentioned to me the other day about doing a show possibly together about barebacking in the gay community. And I think that's what he was talking about. And so I think that's a good idea for a show, because I think it is somewhat of an epidemic, and I have different feelings about it. I don't know what you feel about it, but it is something that should be addressed, especially these days, and especially within the gay community, where we have most people in the gay community who are getting infected with HIV these days are actually in the twink range. So like under 25. Speaking of sex, I don't know if you guys heard, if you know who Cheyenne Jackson is. Cheyenne Jackson, like last week or whatever, apparently there was a video of him, supposedly it was supposed to be him, of him masturbating and actually coming on the screen. He's an actor. He's been on 30 Rock. He's been in several movies, whatever. He was in the Liberace movie. If you saw his face, you probably know who he is, Cheyenne Jackson. He's openly gay man. But there was a video that was released, a 52-second video, that actually shows this man coming in a hotel room, and it quickly passes over his face, and he says, "Clearly, I need my boyfriend here." And so then it goes away from his face. However, when it looks like him, it goes over his face, it doesn't really look that much like him to me. When it's just stopped over his face, it does not look like that to me at all. But then you see the tattoos on the guy's arm, apparently, at one point. And you can kind of tell that it is the same guy. So I think it's him, but I'm not sure. They say that it's him, but it's hard to tell, But I got to say, it was it was a nice video. It was a nice video. I thought that he's got a nice unit. I mean, it's not like huge or anything, but it's pretty. So anyway, that's good. Anyway, so if you want to see Cheyenne Jackson jerking off, you can see that on gay.fleshbot.com, and you can watch the video there for free, and you see him in all his glory if you're interested in that. But he's kind of a weird guy, though. He kind of sort of is. I don't know. I like him sort of, but I don't. I always thought he was good looking, but I think he like just broke up with his boyfriend. Of course, I don't know what happened with him, and like all these tattoos and shaved his head, and like he's having a midlife crisis or something, and went off with some 20-year-old twink or whatever in California. I don't know. I don't really like that about him, but it seems like he's having issues right now. Okay, so what else do we have to talk about on here tonight? Let's see what's going on. Oh yeah, the Olympics, real quick. I wanted to mention that. There's been a big brouhaha about that because the Olympics this year next year are going to happen in Russia, and Russia's Vladimir Putin hates gay people and promotes homophobia essentially, and so because of this, they're saying that they shouldn't have the Olympics there. And however, the Olympic Committee says that there's nothing in their bylaws that says you can't go to a country that doesn't, agree with their views on gay people or whatever. And I think they should not go. I think that they shouldn't go at all, because I think I'm talking about the safety of the people is what I'm worried about. I'm worried about those gay contestants, ice skaters, for example. I'm sure there are at least one or two ice skaters who are gay going to Russia that are going to be in danger while they are there in Russia. So I'm worried about their safety, because many people, there's been several instances where people have been murdered, or killed or bashed as a result of being bashed, have died, and even kidnapped there because they're gay. People just wearing certain types of clothes have been assaulted, or having a gay flag or anything like that. So it's not a place that I would want to go or be at all. And especially if you're in the public eye and everything, and everybody's going to know who you are. I mean, it's a bad idea. So just be thankful that those of you who are gay listening, that we live here in the United States of America. It isn't fucking perfect, that's for sure, for us, but we have a hell of a lot better than they do in Russia these days. And that's all I got to say about that. What else do I want to talk about? We've got 22 minutes left in the show, and since I'm having to do the show by myself, I need to find myself a co-host, because I'm really tired of doing shows alone. So I think I'm going to try to find a co-host on Craigslist or something, because I don't know anybody who's up this late personally that can co-host with me, that I, have any kind of rapport with. So I think I'm going to start doing co-hosting. David has a co-host in his show, and that seems to work pretty well. Rose does her show all by herself all the time, but she's got her big personality, and so she's got no problem doing it. And for me, I mean, sometimes I'm okay, but most of the times I just don't want to. I like to talk to people. I like to have a conversation and converse, and actually, so not just sit here and ramble on about what's going on. So I'm thinking about doing that. and seeing what happens with that as well in the future. What else is going on in the world?